welcome. My name is Nadia and this is a 30-minute beginner's yoga. It was requested from a friend and I thought I'd open it out to anyone else that it may be useful for. There is also a beginner's yoga class on here from a little while ago, and so it will be slightly different. So there's no sun salutations here, which we'll obviously do in the other video. And yeah, I hope it's useful. If you've got any questions at all, I'm always available. If you have any specific injuries or conditions that you are concerned about that may be affected, then please speak to a doctor before you practice yoga, and or a senior yoga teacher. They will be able to offer lots of good advice. And yes, the most important thing when you're beginning yoga is to just let it take its time. It all takes its own time. For some people it's very quick, for others it will take longer, on the physical aspect, but also on the breathing aspect, which is a very big part. And the spiritual side just comes naturally in its own time if you're interested in it, but it's not forced down your neck, especially in Western yoga. But it is something that is very true to yoga. So if you're ever interested, there are fantastic books I can recommend. Anyway, the most important thing is to just feel everything that's going on in your body. If you ever feel pain, let go of the posture you're in. You can always try again, ask questions, or just go back in a little gentler. Any pain in the joints should never be there, so just, like I say, come out. And if there's tightness, just enjoy, breathe through it, and it will open up in its own time. Okay, so we're going to start seated on your mats, cross legs if that's comfortable. I've got a cushion, you can use any cushions, or you could use blocks if you've got, but books stacked to about yay high with a blanket on top are a fantastic tool if you've got really tight hamstrings and struggle in this position. Okay, or hips, sorry. Okay, so cross legs and then resting your hands either knees, thighs, or in your lap. Back of the hand resting into the palm of the hand. And just stay with this position for a few minutes. And if you're comfortable to, close your eyes. So the beginning and the end of yoga are very similar and about connecting to our body, our internal world, and our breath. So letting go of anything that's happened or anything that's yet to come, and just being right in the body right now. So a good way to help that is to feel the parts that connect to the ground. The feet, the ankles, the legs, and the sit bones. Just notice that connection with the ground, any pressure, any temperature that connects to that. And you'll hear grounding a lot in yoga, and this is really about connecting to the earth below, releasing all of the weight down, knowing that the earth is there to hold you. So from the lower half of your body, we want to feel this grounding. So feel it from the hips, the bum, the sit bones, and really release as much heaviness and weight as you can down. But then there's this polar opposite energy from the upper part of the body, so from the belly up to the crown of the head. And it's a light and gentle lift. And this is to help us elongate the spine, which is really just to help us breathe as fully and deeply as we can. And you want to feel as if there was a piece of string on the crown of your head, so right at the top of the head, pulling you up, bringing that length. And it brings lightness with it. So then just focus on the breath, in and out through your nose, and into the belly. So this is called deepening the breath or abdominal breath. So as you breathe in, you want to expand every part of your belly that you can. Imagine a balloon filling with air on the inhale, Then on the exhale, you want to squeeze lightly all of that air out as the navel comes back into the spine. So continue that belly breathing just to get used to it. It may feel abnormal at first, but inhaling, expand like a balloon. And exhale, release, belly coming in toward the spine. Last one, inhale, expand big. And exhale. When you're ready, we're going to start to move. So if you could flicker your eyes open, but let the light come in gently. So look down to begin as you let those eyes reopen. And then preparing to move, you're going to move any cushion or block if you had one underneath your seat. And you're going to come onto hands and knees. So hands are directly under shoulders and knees are directly under hips. Tops of the feet rest. This is called cat-cow. So on the inhale, you want to drop the belly down. There's a little arch in the spine. So if there's pain in your lower back, just stay more neutral and gaze forward. Imagine you're sending your heart forward, gaze forward, and tailbone up to the sky as much as feels safe in your lower back. Then the exhale, we're bringing the belly in toward the spine, rounding the spine, pressing into the hands and looking to the belly. And this is our cat. So imagine a cat stretching in the morning. Now do those two with the breath. So on the inhale, drop the belly, lift the heart and gaze, maybe arch into your lower back if it's safe to. Exhale, bring the belly in, round the upper back, press into the hands as you gaze to the belly. Do two more like that. Use the full length of the inhale to arch and the full length of the exhale to round. Last one. And then you want to come to neutral. So neither arching nor rounding. I'm just going to take a little stretch to the back of the leg. So right toes into the floor as you straighten that leg. Press that right heel away from you and you should feel a lovely stretch. From the heel all the way up to maybe the hips or the bum area. So get a lovely stretch. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly release. Bring that right knee back down. Do the same on the left. Left toes into the floor. Press the heel away. Getting that lovely stretch down the left back side of the leg. Breathe in. And exhale, release. Left knee back down. Next one we're going to do is a lunge. So you may need a few more steps than one. So if you come up onto the fingers, it tips. It makes it a little bit easier. And you want to step your right foot forward. Might take loads of little baby steps or just one big one. Doesn't matter how many. Now you want to line up right knee to right ankle. So there's the shin is in a right angle. You're on your fingertips. Now some of you, this will already feel very, very tight, but others will have a little bit more range of mobility. So you can step that left knee back a little bit further if you feel that that's too easy. You're on your fingertips and you're gazing forward, thinking about sending your heart forward and your shoulders back. This is a nice beginning of low lunge. And if you ever feel you can go further, it feels easy, then you can bring your hands up onto that thigh. And you're almost pressing your hands into that thigh, kind of trying to lunge into that hip, but the knee's still in that right angle, so knee over ankle. If this feels easy and you want to go to the next stage, then you could choose to inhale, lift the arms up. It just uses a bit more balance and also brings a little bit more weight into the posture. The main feeling here is in your back hip flexor, so the left front of your thigh from the top all the way down. And you want to breathe into that stretch. If it's too much, release into any of those stages. And when you're ready, we're going to bring the fingertips back down and do the same on the other side. So stepping that right knee back, as many steps as you need. And we'll do the same with the left foot. Lots of little steps or just one big one. Your right knee as far back as feels comfortable. If that's too far, you can always bring that knee a little bit more underneath its hip, right? The front knee is over the ankle and we start on our fingertips. Heart forward, shoulders back, gaze forward. If that feels nice and you want to come into the next stage, hands on that thigh, front thigh. And you're trying to lunge forward. So we're getting a lovely stretch on your right hip flexor. See how it feels, and if you want to add on, inhale, lift those arms up. In line with the ears, shoulder distance apart, and breathe here. Inhale, and as you exhale, bring the hands down. This time, rather than coming back, we're going to come forward. So if you tuck the back toes, lift the back knee. And again, you're going to take as many steps as you need to bring that back foot in line with your front foot. So you want about hip distance with your feet and a deep bend in the knees. This is called ragdoll. Hands start in front of the feet and your head, your neck is completely relaxed. So I bent my knees quite a lot. You might need to bend it even more to get the chest on the thighs. It will make the thighs nice and strong. So it is quite strong in the legs, but the upper body, you're really trying to let go and release. If you feel like this is easy and you want to add on, you could hold opposite elbows and just really let go. You can even use movement by swaying from side to side as if the wind was moving you gently, and that feels nice in the hips and in the upper body as it's completely relaxed. It takes a little while to get used to that letting go, but when you do, the body will thank you. Release the hands or the elbows and then roll on up. Knees bent, head relaxed, shoulders soft as you come up slowly to stand. And then take a few shoulder rolls. Again, we talked a lot about Tadasana in the previous beginners class, so I'm not going to talk about it a lot here. You have an option. Feet together or hip distance. Depends on how stable you feel. If it's a little bit more challenging bringing the feet together, have hip distance when you stand. Ground down with the feet, palms face forward. Squeeze lightly the shoulder blades together and stand tall. Imagine someone was pulling up from the crown of the head. Your glute and your core is engaged to protect your lower back. And this is a wonderful pose to get used to if you struggle with posture during your day. On the inhale, we're going to slowly reach your arms out and up and lift those fingertips up towards the sky. And then from there, we're going to exhale, bend into your knees. Now, any amount, and you're imagining you're sitting down on a chair. So this is a little bit of a challenging posture, chair. From the front, it should look like this. If you look down, you could see at least a big toe. And from the side, you want to make sure that you're not sticking your bum out to come into a very low squat. It's much more about sitting down into a chair, but keeping the neutral alignment of the spine. So it's got the natural curvature there. If you look down, you should see a big toe, then you look forward. Arms are in line with the ears, unless there's shoulder pain, neck pain, then you can bring your hands to your hips. This one is an amazing posture because you're working a lot. You're working the ankle mobility, you're working your thighs, you're working your glutes, you're working your core, your obliques, and also your shoulders. So well done. Take a deep breath in. And on the exhale, we're going into forward fold. So imagine the arms come out in a big circle and then down next to the feet, relax your head and neck. From there, you're going to inhale, straighten the legs, if you can, comfortably, and then straighten the spine. Bring your hands onto your shins, looking down, and see how long you can make your spine. So you're really trying to reach forward with the head and back with the hips. And then exhale, bend the knees and bring the hands next to your feet. From there, we're going to step your right foot back. A couple of feet. So it really depends on how stable you feel. And then you're turning your back toes. You're bringing that back foot into the floor, turning the toes slightly forward at an angle. Now, if you feel If you feel like you need a bit more stability, so you're in Tadasana, your feet are hip distance, open your feet a little bit wider apart, right? So the left foot can go a little bit more to the left. You're going to bring your hands to your hips. You've got this alignment with the knee over the ankle, just as you did in your lunge, and you're slowly going to lift your hips, your torso, sorry, and you're turning your hips. So Warrior One is a little bit of a challenge. So we're going to talk it through in stages. So your back foot is grounded. If there's pain in the back knee, the alternative would be to be on the back toes, and it just helps you twist the hips forward. But otherwise, if it's okay to have that foot grounded, have it grounded but at an angle. Your hips are trying to turn forward so they're as neutral to each other as possible. So you could bring your hands on your hip bone just to feel that. And then that's right angle with the knee, so knee over ankle. And if you feel steady, just like you did in your lunge, you could inhale, reach your arms up in line with your ears. And this is Warrior One. It's a tricky pose because you're twisting your back hip. You've got that butt front knee bent at an angle. It's strong in that front thigh. Doing really well. And then from there, you're going to bring your hands back to your hips and straighten into that front knee. We're going to transition into what's called Warrior Two. So for Warrior Two, start to heel toe that back foot a little bit wider, so a little bit further back, and turn the toes now to the long edge. So rather at an angle that they were, and what that does is it turns your hips to face the long edge. Now, the next part of this pose would be to bend into your front knee. If that's too wide, of course you can modify, just bring that back foot a little bit closer in. So the idea, toes facing the long edge, hands on your hips, so the hips are facing the long edge, and your front knee is in the right angle that we discussed at the beginning. Toes facing forward. If you feel good there, reach your arms out to shoulder height. We did this in the first video, but we're going to go through Warrior One, Warrior Two again because they're very important. And you're looking out over your front middle finger. You will find them in pretty much every, not every class, but most classes that have a standing sequence. So looking out over your front middle finger, both feet grounded down. And then to release it again, bring your hands to your hips, straighten into that front leg. Turn your toes so they're parallel, and then we're going to do the same on the other side. So turn your back toes to the back of the mat. We want to bring that foot slightly to the right so we have a bit more space with the hips, and you're going to turn your back toes at an angle, keeping your hands on the hips because you may find you wobble just as I did. And then you want to try and turn your hips to face the back edge of your mat. Then when you have that alignment, hands can start on your hip bones just to feel it. Then you can bend your front knee in line with the ankle, right angle. And then if that feels good and steady, you can reach your arms up. And here we are in Warrior One. Not the easiest warrior, not one of the easiest I find because of that back twist of that back hip. If you feel pain in the back knee, remember modification would be to come onto the back toes. This is also known as high lunge, but it's much safer for your knee. So really protect those knees if you're worried. And then arms in line with your ears, reaching the fingertips high. Inhale. And exhale. Bring those hands onto the hips. Straighten your front knee. You're going to bring that back foot wider. So as wide as you found possible for your Warrior Two on the other side. Toes facing the long edge. And now bend into your front knee at a right angle once again. Hips are facing the long edge. And now reach your arms out to a T. So in line with the shoulders, palms face down. You want your core and your torso really engaged to keep you from kind of hunching or leaning forward. So you want that integrity in your core. Really ground down with your feet to help feel that core engagement. And your gaze is over your front middle finger. I always periodically look down at that front knee. It has a tendency to pull inwards for my body. So notice where yours goes. Does it need aligning? Back over the heel. And then bring your hands to your hips. Straighten that front leg. Turn your toes in to parallel. And then we're going to do heel toes. So heel, toe, and it's just a nice way to come back. And shake out the legs if you need it. Shake out the body if it feels good. Always like a little bit of a shake. And then we're going to do a standing balance before we come down onto the ground. So weight is in your left foot. Standing balance, I should say, is not for everyone. Do not worry, it gets easier, but some days it will just not work. So if you've got a wall or a chair and you know it's there for support, hold it, use it. Never feel you have to come up. You can always come up and then go back down. So hands on your hips. Weight into your left leg as you bend your right knee. Now turn the knee without turning your hip bone. That's important. So as you turn the hip bone, then you're off center. We want center. So feel your hip bones. So it doesn't need to go all the way out to the side if that means you're turning the hips. Okay. Stage one would just be to have your big toe connected to the floor next to your left foot. That feels good. You feel like you could go a bit further. You could try bringing your right foot to your lower leg. See how that feels. You may wobble and shake. Just keep your hands on your hips and stare at one spot on the floor. This is called our drishti. Some people prefer the floor, some people straight ahead. Just use whatever spot helps and just hold there and breathe. And anyone feels this is really easy, maybe you've done this before, you could hook that right foot on the top of your left thigh, but keep the hips facing forward, keep staring at your spot, keep pressing down with your standing leg. Remember, grounding is very important here. And then if you feel steady in any of those stages, bring your hands to your heart. And if that feels good, you could also, for the last breath, just reach the arms up in a Y shape and breathe there. If you've come in and out of this, well done. We're all going to come out together. So hands back to your hips. Release that foot down. Shake out your standing leg. That's the leg that will come up now. So weight onto your right leg. Little micro bend in the knee, which means it's not locked, which means going back too far. There's a tiny bend. Left knee bends, hands on your hips. Turn the left knee without turning your hip. Stay on the big toes, that's one option. Find something to stare at. Second stage, bring your left foot to your right leg. And then third, bring your left foot into the instep of your right, or up onto your right thigh. That is only if this feels really steady. Sometimes that will be available, others not, so you can stay low down or connected to the ground. And any of those versions, bring your hands to your heart if you feel steady. And lastly, arms out to a Y. So there's lots of options. Always stay with the option that feels good. Come in and out as you need, and just breathe. Is the most important thing in yoga. And the breath seems like the easiest part, but sometimes is the hardest. So releasing that when you're ready, and I'll jabber on about the breath. So it took me probably over a year before my inhales and exhales were syncing with the teachers, and I just couldn't understand why it wasn't. And one day it just clicked, and it was like the most beautiful moment ever. So I really just encourage you to keep going with the breath. It becomes more natural. Okay, where are we? So we're going to come down to the floor. I'm going to take the time. Okay, I'm doing okay with time. Let's come down when you're ready. Inhale, reach those arms up just as you did at the beginning. And exhale, bend the knees and hinge forward and down. Bring the hands next to the feet. You might need a real deep bend in the knees to get there. And then step back. This one's a little bit tricky, but we're only going to be here a minute or a second. Step back to high plank, so the top of a push-up. Engage your core, press the floor away, and then exhale, lower down onto the knees. Bring your shoulders over the wrists, bring the belly down as you slowly lower to the floor. We're going to do cobra now, so a back bend. So if you bring your hands underneath your shoulders, forehead down to the floor. To make this easier, especially if you're worried about your lower back, bring your feet nice and wide as mat distance. And when you're ready, press into the hands, lift the head, lift the heart, and you're coming up into baby cobra. I'm not going to take you into full cobra today, but if you come up, so you're only lifting your head, your heart, your shoulders, as much as feels comfortable with not too much weight in the hands, so much so that you could lift the hands if you wanted. And this is baby cobra, which is just as strong as our full cobra. So just take a few breaths, release the hands down if it feels too strong, lifting them. And the idea is to squeeze your shoulder blades together, elbows in toward the body. Last breath. As you exhale, lower down slowly. Make a pillow with your hands, rest the elbows out to the side. Big toes come together, heels fall out. And just rest on a cheek or the forehead. And take a few breaths here. So I'm going to come, we're going to actually roll over onto our back. So the best way you could do this is just to roll over. So come onto the side and gently find your way onto your back. So I'm always a little bit behind with time. So I'm going to go straight into a twist on your back. So if you bring your knees in and you hold your shins, give yourself a lovely squeeze there, connect. Don't worry if your knees are really far away, just hug as whatever you can reach and then press down with your back into the earth. That's the aim, just to get a little bit of pressure along the spine. And then we're going to go into a twist. So I'll show you from the side. Your arms will come out to a T and your knees are going to go over to the right. And they're together. They may or may not touch the floor. Don't worry if they don't. You could use a cushion and rest the cushion underneath the knees. But try and press both shoulders down equally. Now, for some, looking to the opposite side is not that pleasant on the neck. So I advise you two options. First option, safest option, looking up to the sky. Or those that have no trouble in the neck, look over to your left side and then feel that lovely twist and stretch on the left side body and breathe there. Taking a few breaths before we take full relaxation. So look up to the sky, bring those knees back to the center, neutralize the hips and then go over to the other side. Knees to the left. Ah, lovely little click, always welcome. And then the gaze is either up or over to the right hand. Either of those works, so see which works for your neck. The twist will happen no matter what, so the twist on this right side, and then imagine you're breathing into that space, into that twist. And you're breathing nice and slow, no need to breathe in any particular way, just breathe and notice your breath. Now look up to the sky as you bring your knees up and you're done. Physically we're finished, but the most important part of yoga is, in all honesty, the Shavasana. So Shavasana for traditionally is legs straight, arms away from the body, palms facing up, feet, and let arms away from the body as much as you can. And then just release the head, the weight and the heaviness of your body down. So you're going to stay there and I'm going to talk you through our little relaxation before we finish and close. So I have to remind myself to get not too too chatty so I can stick with the time. But here we are. So you have completed your 30-minute class And now is just as important. So if you imagine when you're sleeping, your body heals and repairs. So this is exactly what we're doing in Shavasana or relaxation. Your body is taking all of the energy that you've created through your posture, through your intention, through your breath, and it's sending it around the body through the oxygen and repairing your cells. Isn't that amazing? And all you have to do is be conscious of your body and your breath. So we can start as we began. So feel the parts of your body that connect to the earth. So feel the backs of the legs, the heels, the backs of the hands, the arms, the buttocks, the back, the neck, and the head. And just feel release. Can you release any more tension, any more muscular contraction? Can you just release your body a little further down into the earth? And now with the breath, at the beginning we controlled the breath a little, trying to bring it deep into the belly with our abdominal breathing. Now we're letting that go. So you're letting your breath be natural. And if it needs to be shallow, it's shallow. It doesn't matter, but just watch your breath in its most natural. And just, you'll probably notice that after yoga, it's definitely not shallow. But when it returns, it may not be as deep as what we were practicing. Just watch that breath as it comes up and down in around the belly or the chest. And then give your body and your breath thanks or gratitude for your practice today. We're going to come out of relaxation, but slowly together. So start to deepen the breath. So belly breath, inhale, expand and breathe in deep. And exhale, draw the belly down, release the air out. And then wiggle your fingers and toes. Bringing the feet together, arms overhead, have a full body stretch. And then hug your knees into your chest for a little squeeze. And then roll over to your right side, where you just rest and lie there for a moment. This is called fetal position, which tends to feel very nurturing.